You know, I learned a lot about who I did and did not want to be by watching the adults around us as kids.
You mean like our aunts and
Yeah, I mean, the adults in the family mostly, but also my friends' parents as well.
so you were able to kind of base who you became by taking on certain characteristics or not of those you were observing?
Exactly.
I wonder if you would have shaped even more of yourself if you had dug deeper into where our family came from or who they were.
Maybe.
Hello, and welcome to Adulthood as a Project, the show where two sisters discuss the lessons learned and growth earned through the realities of life. I'm Charlie, and this is my sister Casey, and we're your hosts.
In today's episode, in lieu of St. Patrick's Day coming up next week, we're going to discuss Ancestry, right? Because we're all Irish on St. Patrick's Day. We will, we will also discuss the ins and outs of discovering your ancestry and what you can do with it. Let's get started.
All right, Ancestry. It's until you took that DNA thing a while back, it wasn't something I thought much of, but it's kind of fun to connect with where you came from.
I think it's super fun to connect where you came from. Of course, now I am kind of a history nerd, right? And then I have a son who's also, Sonny Boy is a history nerd. And
I guess.
yeah, so he's the one that got me more into, tracking down the family and tracing it and whatever. So he's actually got the DNA test first, and then I did mine. And what was so funny is how much we didn't cross over as far as our DNA kits. I mean, obviously they
really?
noticed I was his mom, but where it told him he was from, it told me I was from different areas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I would have to go back and look because we ended up looking it all up, and certain DNA tests will trace more where your mom is from, more so than where your paternal side is from.
Oh, okay.
It just depends on how they track the DNA, and I don't really remember it, but I thought it was really interesting. So, learning our ancestry, even though, yeah, I had already tracked a lot of it, just having that DNA confirmation, like, yes, we are German, yes, we have the Scottish in us, and I mean, that's what we are. We're just big Scottish German people. It's Portuguese.
I don't even need to take mine. I don't want to find any extra brothers or sisters out there.
Oh, man. You know what else? You know what else I think is interesting, though, is our family's been in America for years, right? But we grew up with certain foods that would connect us to where our ancestors came from. So for us, potato pancakes and tenderloins are both German. That comes from our German ancestry. What we call them tenderloins are schnitzel.
Oh, you don't think that that's from just the Midwest, though, where we actually grew up?
Well, where we actually grew up is where a lot of Germans ended up at.
Which I guess then, with our parents, that's what they were raised on, tenderloins or potato pancakes, which then would lead them to making it for us. So,
Right.
and then that makes
kids.
right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do think that kind of stuff's kind of weird and interesting.
Well, and that we have an ancestral link to some famous people too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We do.
Like little Sam Houston.
I think if you're outside of Texas, you might not know who Sam Houston is.
I think everybody knows about the Alamo. What are you talking about?
I would tend to tell you, I don't think people know that much about the Alamo and the Texas Revolution outside of Texas.
Oh, interesting. I kind of just assumed everyone knew. If it's something history related and I somehow know about it, I assume everyone knows about it because it's not my genre.
No, it's funny because so we had in our homeschool group, we did a little history living wax museum, and Sonny Boy decided to dress up as Sam Houston. And I remember some people being like, "Well, who's that?" I'm like, "How do you not know who Sam Houston is?"
Right? For real. Like, what? How would you not know? I remember not thinking a ton of it until I remember going to the Alamo. And I somehow remember seeing a picture of him there. And I feel like there'd been a picture in a textbook or something. Who knows? But I don't remember any of that. I just remember seeing one at the Alamo. And for some reason, I looked in his eyes, and in the picture, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Something about that picture just made me be like, "Oh yeah, there's definitely something there." And it was the first time I kind of was like, "Oh, it feels weird to be connected to something that long ago." Because I've seen pictures, our grandparents or something.
Mm-hmm.
But because they're just our grandparents that we hear a story about from our mom or our uncle, it doesn't seem so far-fetched.
Right.
And then seeing a picture from that long ago and being like, I can see something there. It just kind of changed my perspective just a little bit on it, not a ton. Like I don't remember the guy's whole life story or anything, but just I do know who he is. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
now also, listen, on Mom's side, we have a famous actor, Tyrone Power.
So I don't know anything about this. What are you talking about? Who's that?
Yeah, he was an actor back in the 30s and 40s.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. Have we never discussed this?
Maybe you don't. I've discussed it with Mom.
Like, why isn't Mom sharing this with me? Mom, when if you're listening right now, we need to talk about Tyrone.
Yeah, so he was a lead actor in the 30s and 40s.
Huh. Well, look at us.
Yeah.
Straight up famous.
Famous. I would say both those are cousins or something along those lines. It wasn't like that's our grandpa or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But still cool.
Yeah. It is cool to see and stuff. And I have a friend who, she is so into Ancestry, and I am pretty sure she did. Her son got one too, maybe last year or something for Christmas, because he's kind of into it. And they went all the way back, but she's really into it. She's someone who knows so much about her family's history, like her grandparents, her great grandparents, the uncles, the second. I just don't. Our mom talks about stuff. It's not like I don't hear the stories or know some stories. I just don't think of it. Like I don't feel as connected to them, and she definitely feels connected to her ancestors, and I don't feel that.
I think on our end, though, I guess I would ask, were her grandparents alive when she was a kid?
Yeah, I think it was her grandma and grandpa did a lot of like babysitting when she was younger.
Yeah.
So
that can make a big difference, right? I mean, our grandparents weren't alive.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
The ones we would have wanted to know.
So.
Right.
They passed early on, and so, I mean, I was 18 when our last grandparent passed away.
Yeah. So that was pretty young.
Yeah.
And then our one set of grandparents, I have one memory, I think I've talked to Mom about it. I was 4 years old that I can remember her dad. And he passed away as far as I know when I was 4, so it would have been that same time. Yeah, I was.
4. Dude, I was a year and a half old when he died. So you weren't 4.
Oh, okay. So maybe that's 3.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Okay. Well, I do actually remember him, is all I'm saying, which is really crazy because when I started timing it out and I was talking to Mom, okay, well, then 3 is even crazier because I thought 4 was crazy. I do have a very vivid memory. I can remember this one thing. And Mom was like, oh, yeah, that totally would have happened. It was just eating watermelon, to be honest with you. Nothing real crazy. I just remember eating watermelon and thinking he was so nice to let me just eat. Like, I was just going to town on this watermelon. It was just getting all over me. And he just he's like, it's fine. We'll get out the water hose and just hose her down. I'm like, how cool is this? Didn't have to get in the bathtub.
Man, though
Oh,
I
man.
did see something. It was just a fun thing to think about, where it's just talking about how it only takes one person to change a whole family's life. So just like one person becoming successful can create kids who become successful, who then carry on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's so true, right?
Mm-hmm.
One, whether it's successful or obviously years ago, like one person moves, like you move to a whole different region or something,
Yeah.
that would change that whole trajectory of that family as well,
Yeah.
and where it's coming from. But yeah, success would be handed down as over the generations too. So that'd be one thing of just, wow, it just changed from these people were poor coal miners or whatever they might have been, field workers, whatever, to now they run them kind of thing. Or yeah, just because when you think about how, if you really knew how our ancestors ended up in Missouri where they did,
Right.
right? Where were they before that? That would have maybe changed. What if we were born in Germany? That'd be weird. That'd be a hard language
weird
to speak.
Oh man, I feel like I'd be so much more intimidating in German though.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I would have made it. What I was thinking about is along those lines of knowing our ancestors. I think about how you've talked about your kids saying, man, I would have loved to see you as a kid and hung out with you. And you and I have made jokes like, oh, you wouldn't have made it with us. You wouldn't have hung out with us. So I wonder that about one of them. We would have beat up. The other one would have been a bully with you, actually. And maybe you and I wouldn't be friends.
The flower child would have been so mean.
We wouldn't want to hang out with her. Actually, you would have. I'd have been,
Like, I don't like her. She's so mean.
How crazy would that be if you could, go back in time, even just for a day, and see even your grandpa or your grandma and see them as a kid, just out playing. What were they actually like? Or see them as a teenager. Even hearing stories from our mom about when she was a teenager or when she was a kid. It's funny to listen to and think, oh man, would we have hung out? What would that have been like?
Yeah, I feel like Mom would have been way too dorky for me to hang out with.
Oh,
Sorry, Mom.
You want to do some homework together? No. That was our high school years. I think when she was a kid, we would have had some fun.
Yeah, maybe so.
When they'd go play in that creek behind their house and stuff. I would have totally got down with that. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh
man. Oh man.
Yeah.
Though, but there are things when you go back in that family tree. Sometimes you maybe wish you didn't find out about your family too.
Oh, right. Listen, I saw the story, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there was a girl who did one of those DNA tests, right? And so after she did the DNA test, she got contacted by a police detective. And they said, your DNA matches the DNA of this body that was found at a campground of an infant.
Oh.
Traced it back to basically finding out that her grandma had a child that she left in a campground toilet.
What?
Yeah. Now grandma's going to court.
Oh, two. Could you? Okay, two things. A, being that girl and being like, oh my God, grandma, what? The what? And that grandma's probably, little shit, I told you not to dig into our past. Could you imagine having a secret that horrific that you were hiding all these years and it came out because someone came up with DNA tests?
Oh, I know, right? And like,
Lord.
I will say, Sunny Boy and I did our DNA test a while back, and so I think if anything was going to come up, it would have already came up. I think we're in the clear for any kind of craziness like that.
Extreme circumstances.
But I don't imagine being that grandma and being, yeah, you didn't tell me you were gonna DNA test.
Yeah,
you should have ran that past me.
Yeah, honey, I could have told you anything.
How would you be trying to talk your grandkids out of it without them being like, what is up with grandma lately? She really doesn't want us to get this DNA test. I don't know what's going on with her.
Why is she being so weird about DNA, man? And then she's like, honey, anything you need to know, I'll tell you. Yeah, you're going to tell me your version of it.
All right. You're going to tell me about that baby you left in the campground toilet?
That's wild,
no,
dude.
Grandma's gonna leave that one out.
Grandma is not mentioning that. I haven't seen it in years. We had someone in our family, Uncle Randy was making that big old book.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I don't know who has it now. He had a lot of information in that. I remember kind of reading through it a couple of times, thinking it's kind of interesting. But again, I didn't feel connected to them, even though we grew up around aunts and uncles.
We did.
And yeah, I didn't feel that connected to anyone past the people I already knew.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I would also tell you I didn't feel connected. And I do think it's really neat, though. I mean, so one of my big goals sometime is to go to Scotland and go to that Houston house.
Oh. I honestly forgot you told me about that, but yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I think it'd be so cool. And
that would be cool.
Not because I'm necessarily feel super connected, but I do think it'd be super cool to go on some kind of motherland trip, right? Go check out where you came from and go to these different areas that you know your family came from. That'd be kind of neat to do.
Yeah. See, now if we'd grown up in Scotland,
I would have.
Oh, I could totally get down for those accents. Scottish man? Okay. Just saying.
Yeah, I'd be down for that too. If there's any Scottish guys out there listening, feel free to give us a call.
Don't be shy with the accent either.
Oh man. I do wonder though, as far as feeling disconnected, people feel more disconnected from their ancestry because of the way society works now. You don't really rely on family the way you used to. It'd be like, we're all on this farm together and we have 40 acres to plow or whatever. I mean, I don't know what they did back in the day.
Right. Something like that. But and then you didn't go far from home.
Yeah.
You didn't go that far from home, so you wouldn't have experienced not being around family. So then you would just rely on them. And now, with me living in Arizona, I came out here because our older sister was out here, but we didn't have anyone else in the family out here.
Right.
And now we've been out here for years. And her kids are now out here. Well, 3 to 4 or whatever, but they're around, and our uncle's out here now. But it wasn't always like that. So,
Right.
I mean, it was for me living out here, but I'm saying we didn't grow up like, oh, we have to be near the other person. I, moved thousands of miles away from mom, at 18. So then you start finding friends and stuff to help when you're trying to build that. Well, as I say, not for me, I haven't dealt with it, but with raising kids, they're like, oh, it takes a village to raise your kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that village used to be your family that was around you. Well, when society has changed, life has changed, and people don't stay where they grew up, so they don't always stay near their parents. So then they make their own their new tribe, as a lot of people call it, their little tribe, and they change that up.
Yeah,
and
so they kind of just turn their friends into family.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think it can also be a good thing when you think about that, because not necessarily speaking of our family by any means, but some people, they need a new family, right? Their family was horrible or wasn't there for them or something. And so they need to be able to find a new family to be with or spend time with and stuff. So it's kind of interesting that we've almost changed to a society where you choose your family. So it doesn't mean you don't still have all that ancestry behind you, but you still now kind of choose who your family is to a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you got to think about how these people shape your... I mean, to some extent, I would assume your ancestors shape your personality a little bit. Okay, I'm going to randomly bring up this. Do you understand that memories can be passed down through generations?
Oh, yes.
So I'll just use the example of the experiment was done on, I think, mice, where every time these mice smelled raspberries, they got a shock or something. Okay, I'm making up the raspberries because I don't really remember what the smell was, but they got shocked. And so then they did that to these mice, and then the next generation of mice, they didn't do it to. But anytime that those mice were exposed to the smell of raspberries, they would freeze and be waiting, even though those mice had never been shocked. And it went down to, I think, 3 generations before that reset.
I wish I could remember what I had just saw a quote pretty recently on Dr. Christian Northrup's page. I'm trying to think of how it was worded. Something like your mom didn't just become your mom when she gave birth to you, because you're a sum of all her parts, and she's a sum of all her mom's parts and her mom's parts. And it was more talking about women's wisdom and where that comes from, our women's intuition and our wisdom and stuff like that, and it comes from all those years, that lineage.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't say that guys don't have that, because a guy would have it just as much. The rats would probably show that, the mice, whatever. Guys don't tend to tap into that, I don't think, as much as females tend to tap into that with that curiosity.
True. But so when you think about, you're getting made up by these ancestors, your memories and maybe a little bit of your personality is made up by. But if you have a parent who's maybe transplanted and has turned friends into family, it'd be kind of interesting to track down that, I guess, instead of a family tree, a friend tree.
Yeah. Who all was down. Right, because I think about now, my friends, most of my friends' kids, I'm just Aunt Charlie. It's just who I am. And I wouldn't treat them any differently. I don't, you know what I mean? They're like, those are my kids too. Yeah, I'm their aunt. If they were in a situation where they needed me or something was there and I was there, oh, that's my nephew or that's my niece. I'm taking care of them. And it's just natural for them to call me that. It doesn't feel weird. It doesn't. And I think that's become quite a thing too, is people relying on that whole community they've built to help, right? So then if you started getting on your, like you said, a friend tree, how did that friend connect to that friend? And if you're in a situation where you're grown up and probably you have kids and your friend has kids the same age, then you're just raising them together anyway.
Right.
So that would just kind of be like, oh, that's my cousin or whatever, when it's really not even your cousin, but it felt like that because you were raised like you were,
Right. I think that'd be kind of cool to do some kind of friend tree for situations like that, where the people that your kids are going to know are the people that you've chosen as your family instead of your family, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that your friends don't have their kids know their family. It's just they've
Right.
also connected others in. So
Yeah. Throughout to where it's not even, yeah, for sure. I think, and I know some people kind of frown on that of we need to get back to just family and we're helping each other and this and that. But I think there's something really awesome to be said for having that friendship family, especially if you're in a situation where you're miles from your actual family for whatever reason it might be. It could be work related. It could be, I don't know, I guess work would be the main one. But let me tell you, it's nice to go back to Missouri and visit, but that weather is not for me. You know, I don't want to go back there and be like, no, thanks. I'm not about that. I need a lot more sunshine in my life. So, then you need to make a family. Yeah, then you need to make a family for the area that you are in. So you have some people that are close to you or close by that can help in ways that family would help. But yeah, the days of, in other countries, families are still living with each other. I think, is it China? That's just common.
I think Asian culture in general does that.
Yeah, the kids have kids, so then the grandparents are the ones staying at home watching the kids. And oh my gosh, yes. And it was on this show I watched, the Blue Group or the Blue 100, something like that. And anyways, it was studying these different cultures that all lived longer than other places. So it was on the Blue 100 or something. I don't remember the name of it on Netflix. And one of them for Asian culture was that they had what they call ikigai. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but it just means they have a reason for being and for getting up every day kind of thing. As they age, the grandparents end up being the ones that take care of the younger kids. So then the mom and dad are going to work. The kids are going to school and coming home, and they're staying at home with the grandparents. The grandparents are then helping them with homework. They're teaching them maybe cooking skills that they'd learned all through the years and passing all that generational knowledge down. And that also gave the grandparents their ikigai, their reason. So they still had a purpose daily. So that ikigai I've actually heard about in a couple of different books I've read too. Because it's talking about how people after they retire tend to pass away real quick, and it was part of the thing was they didn't feel like they had a purpose anymore. And in that culture they saw the purpose. And I was going to say, so that was part of their purpose, was they're still part of that family unit.
Okay.
Right? Instead of being empty nesters whose kids leave, go out on their own, and then start their own families and come home on holidays or every 2 weeks or something, they're actually a part of that day-to-day family structure. So it gives them more of a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
But and now that I said that made me, oh, absolutely. Yeah. If your grandparent was helping raise you all the time, you'd know so much more about them and feel more connected. For sure. And I was thinking that's part of the other is the culture, right? The great American dream is everyone go out there and own your own home.
Yeah.
Which led to generations not living together here in America as much too. Right?
Yeah.
Because the Hispanic culture is all about living together too. They're a lot more into their heritage, I think, than some of us. Some of us
German, Irish, Scottish people.
Yeah.
Oh man. You know what I do think about though? I think it'd be so funny. I mean, think for real. 3-4 generations from now, my great grandkids could find these videos of us. Feel real connected to me. Real connected.
Yeah. And how much you touch yourself. Great grandma. Great grandma was cray. I did say the other day that this whole generation is going to be so interesting as they grow up. Because of all the videos and stuff that are out now, we don't have that to look back on. Right? Our great grandparents, all we're going to find is pretty much a picture of them, most if that, right? We're not going to find videos of who they actually were as people. Yeah. Maybe Tyrone acting in his debut, but well, to your great grandkids, we would have really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. You dig me by the archives. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and so's Grant Charlie.
Gigi and Grant Charlie, love ya.
Oh man, they grew up hearing stories. Oh, that's crazy. I could not imagine seeing one of our grandparents on video right now doing something like this. Wouldn't that be insane?
It would be really
So
weird.
wild. Yeah. Oh man, but I will say so. Our lesson learned and growth earned on this, though it's always interesting to know your heritage, it's important to remember you aren't your ancestors, no matter how good or bad they were. You can use them to guide you either toward your goals or away from what they were like. If you don't like where you came from, you have the ability to change the trajectory of your future and that of your families if you choose so.
In our next episode, we'll explore buzzwords. You're going to get our hot take on it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go out there and be your favorite self.
All right, and if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss in a future episode, hit us up on email at adulthoodisaproject@gmail.com and join the conversation on your favorite listening platform. Go ahead and comment on YouTube, like us, subscribe on Spotify, subscribe on Apple. We'd love to hear from you.